Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining us today for this wonderful event we have planned, Careers with the APA. My name is Steve Young. I'm an advisor in the psychology department here at Maryland, and I'm going to give my colleague in Vsauce right now an opportunity to introduce herself as well.
Hi, everyone. I'm Michelle Sloan. I'm the Assistant Director of Special Events and Career Programs with in Vsauce. Thank you for joining us today, and I will be the Q&A moderator.
Thank you, Michelle. So I'll be serving as the moderator for this session. So we want to let you know first off that this Zoom event will be recorded, and we're recording it so that any students who weren't able to participate can watch it and view it at a later date. We know that when you registered for this event, a number of you provided us questions. We will be sure to try to get to all of those today during our session. And as Michelle mentioned, there is a chat box. So in the chat box throughout today's event, we encourage you to type questions in there. I believe the only person that will see them will be Michelle. So you don't have to put your name with it or anything like that. So as many of you know, many of you are probably psychology majors yourselves. So the American Psychological Association is kind of the governing body for psychologists. So it works with education, practice, public interest, publications, research, teaching, training, and such. But we often don't think about, when we think about the APA, we often don't think about, oh, that's maybe a place I could work, a career path, potential career path. So the reason we put this session together today was because of that reason. We want to let students know of all of the opportunities available to them with the APA, the broad and diverse opportunities available to you in terms of career paths with the APA. So we are very fortunate today to have as our guest host, Rose Starks from the APA. And Rose Starks is a human resource partner at the American Psychological Association. In her current role, she functions as a strategic partner for the organization by having a deep understanding of each business unit's goals and priorities. She uses that understanding to develop and deliver strategic HR services. She has been with the APA for 10 years now and possesses a master's degree in human resources management. We should also mention that Rose has an undergraduate degree in psychology as well, so she can empathize greatly with you. So please join me in welcoming Rose Starks.
Hello, everyone. Nice to meet everyone. I guess I could tell you a little bit about our organization. We are the American Psychological Association. It's the largest scientific and professional organization of psychologists in the US. We have over 120,000 members, including scientists, educators, clinicians, consultants, and of course, students. Actually, APAGS, which is our graduate chapter, is one of the biggest members that we have. We also have 54 divisions that's spread out across the US, and they have different specialties in psychology. APA's mission is to advance communication and application of psychological science and knowledge to benefit society and improve lives. The organizational structures, we have an executive office, a publishing operation, offices that address administrative, business, technology, as well as operational needs. But the main 5 directorates that a lot of people really know about is our education directorate, which accredits doctoral programs. In our practice directorate, which engages on behalf of practicing psychologists and health consumers. We also have public interest, which advances psychology as a means of addressing fundamental problems of human welfare. And we also have the science directorate, which provides direct support and voice for psychological scientists. One of our biggest things that we have is publishing. I'm sure you guys all use the APA form style of writing. So I don't know if you got our APA style guide. I think we publish it every year or every couple of years, but we also have Academic Writer, I think went live about a couple of years ago. So you can go online and put in your paperwork and it'll help you format that. And of course, we have other databases and psychological journals and things like that. Our culture right now is we're very big on well-being and work-life balance because we are the Psychological Association. So we take pride in that. We are also a learning organization, and we make development very important for our staff. Actually, we have a agency-wide developmental goal right now where everybody is tasked to learn project management skills. So that's really good for us, even for me in HR, who don't really do a lot of project management. I may assist, but it just shows how the organization is all about development and training. We also offer in-house training classes to our staff. They could be soft skills. We also have a software program called Percipio, which have hundreds of trainings that staff can take on their own time. We have great benefits, by the way. We have tuition assistance. So if you guys want to go to grad school, we can help out with that. We have free exercise classes. We have mental health days. Sometimes the CEO would just write a APA-wide email and say, okay, no work tomorrow. We all need a mental health day. So those are some of the perks because we really take pride in our mental health at the Psychological Association. Okay.
Thank you, Rose. I didn't realize all of those areas. That was wonderful. Can you talk a little bit about bachelor's level career paths that might be available with the APA?
Sure. So the majority of our positions do require a bachelor's. We have some that do not, but the majority of them do. We take a lot of right out of college candidates for our entry level positions. We have research positions. We have a lot of program coordinators or program assistant positions, and of course, administrative roles. But the main thing is to have a bachelor's, especially if you want to go grow within the organization. So I will say everybody in here is on the right path if you want to make a home at APA.
Thank you. And you mentioned program assistant or coordinator. For an ignoramus like myself, can you talk a little bit about what that means, program assistant coordinator?
Sure. Well, we have a department within Public Interest Directorate called Women's Programs. So we handle a lot of women issues of today. And you may have a coordinator or a program assistant that is right out of college, and they do a lot of meeting minutes or liaison between different committees. I'm sorry. They may help collaborate across different departments. They just assist in the everyday activities of handling whatever that program may entail. It's one of our biggest positions that a lot of people that would like to get their foot into APA, they usually start there. Did I fully answer your question, Stephen?
Yeah, excellent. Awesome. Yeah. And in terms of the research, you mentioned the research positions. Are those more post-bac types of positions that are maybe like 1 or 2 year gigs, or are they full-time as long as you want kind of deals? Or
Yes. Yeah, they're full-time positions. We have a Center for Workforce Studies, which is a little department within APA, and we do a lot of surveys on stress in America and things like that. So we do have some entry-level researchers that are a part of that. We also have some in our publishing that are researching the best practices of publishing or journals or the way people are receiving jobs or becoming notified. So we do a lot of surveys over, it could be a plethora of areas.
thank you. Another related question that we had during the registration, a student asked about part-time and summer positions for students planning on attending graduate school. If there are any opportunities for that interim period of summer or even taking a gap year, are there any any kinds of opportunities that might exist with the APA for fulfilling like a gap year type of experience?
Yeah. We do have part-time positions, but they are not limited to just for summer. They could be a grant-funded position, meaning it could be last for 2 years according to the grant that we awarded. Usually in the summer, we have an internship program. So a lot of students take advantage of that. And then a lot of interns don't just stay for the summer. Sometimes they do a whole year internship as well. But just for a position that's, just for the summer or a gap year, we don't really do any of those.
Thank you. And you mentioned internships, which kind of segues into our next question here. Can you talk a little bit about the types of internships for if you have opportunities for undergrad? I know it's really challenging right now with COVID and such, but under regular circumstances, what types of internships would be available for an undergraduate psych major?
Sure. We have a huge internship program. Usually we get candidates months before they even start because we fill up really quick. I think we had 50 last summer at one time. So all of the directorates, mainly the 4 main ones that I talked about, education, practice, public interest, especially public interest, they get the majority of the interns because a lot of people like to work on social type issues. But it could be an internship in publishing, it could be an internship in advocacy, it could be an internship in practice. You just follow the leaders around. We treat you just like an employee. So if we're having an all hands meeting, you'll be a part of the all hands meeting. If we're off that day, you're off that day. We have different things that goes on within the internship. You have different speakers that may come in. We have brown bag training initiatives. Actually, last year I did a brown bag, which was on interviewing and resume writing. So also at the end of the internship, the interns will put together a group project of what they learned. But we really take pride in our internship. It's a whole entity actually, and even the CEO comes out to meet with the interns, and we have lunch with them and things like that. And when I say brown bag, if you guys don't know what that is it's like during lunch, like a lunch and learn. You bring your lunch, and we'll do some trainings and conversations and things like that.
Thank you. Are there any specific, keeping on the topic of internships, are there any specific experiences or qualifications that the APA is looking for from a student that's hoping to pursue an internship with the APA? Any specific, again, experience or background or, technical skills? I guess it would depend maybe on which directorate the internship falls under.
Mm-hmm. Yes, it depends on what's needed according to that department or directorate. Usually when you go on our career site, there's an internship section where you apply for internships, and every department that has an opening will list what they're looking for, what the skills are needed, and what the task and responsibilities will be. And a few interns, they could apply for different ones. There have been times when I had departments fighting over the same intern. So it could be any of those things. I will say that we also do 2 types of internships, one for credit and one paid. If it's for credit, we'll just need a letter from your school saying you'll get credit for a class, or it counts toward graduation. Or if it's not required, we can still do an internship, and it'll just be a paid internship. And that's for undergrad or graduate students alike, paid and unpaid, and even also fellowships.
And are there any criteria? Does a student have to have earned a certain number of college credits before they would even be considered or be eligible to do an internship with the APA? And is there like a timeline that you recommend for students? Like if I have students right now looking for summer experiences. Again, there's so much uncertainty right now with everything. So But if it were regular circumstances and such, what would you say would be the timeline? Like, when should they start the process? When does the application become available? All that fun stuff.
Yeah, usually we start posting early spring. So usually, and that will be for the summer. So the earlier the better. Yeah, yeah, around that time. And it's really great if you have already had an internship and if you're coming back, those are usually a shoe-in. And we have a lot of regular staff that were hired after completing an internship or, after completing their schooling and then come back.
We want to remind everyone, we have the chat box, so please throw your questions in there. We'd love to hear from you. We do have another question from the registration, and this is focusing on that kind of going back to entry-level career paths. And they're asking, do entry-level career paths require employees to eventually go to graduate school for promotional opportunities or to segue into a different position?
No, not all requires you to go to grad school. Like I say, the minimum is always the bachelor's. But if you want to move to another position or someone else or somewhere else within the company, they'll have their own requirements. So some may want a master's degree, and at times there's also a bachelor's degree required. A master is preferred in lieu of, but if you have 5 years of working experience, we can, that will substitute as a master. So you don't necessarily have to have higher education. It just depends on what that position requires. But like I said, you can always take advantage of tuition assistance and get your graduate if you like. But you don't necessarily have to have it.
And does the APA provide any of that kind of tuition assistance for an employee that's looking to further grow professionally in any way? Are there any opportunities like for professional development?
Oh, yes, of course. Once you have been employed with APA for at least a year, then you're able to get at least 3,500 in tuition assistance per year. So we do have that. As long as you get a C grade, then you don't have to pay it back. Of course, if you fail the class, we will ask for the money back. Or if you were to quit APA within 3 months of after receiving your final grade, we'll also ask for the money back. But if you stay with APA a few months after, then we're fine.
And are there any tips that, or I guess I should say insider secrets that you could provide in terms of how a student could enhance their application to the APA, whether it's for an internship or for an entry-level position, maybe trying to tie into your mission a little bit in different ways?
Yes, and that's with every job. If you look at the job description, it's always good to tie your resume and your cover letter, especially in with the responsibilities of the job. So it's great if you know about APA. It's great if you're a member of APA, especially if you're a psychology student. That will help because you know about APA. But we don't, it just depends on the job itself. There's no surefire answer. There's no guarantee. It's just if your skills match the responsibilities that we're looking for.
Thank you very much. So we have another question from the registration. And this question is, what do you look for when you're interviewing candidates for positions?
Oh, great question. Well, one thing is, of course, punctuality when you come in for the interview. Of course, we're working from home, so of course, no one's coming into the building right now. But if you could start that Zoom call correctly, that would be great. We just, if you answer the questions fully, there have been many times where I've interviewed candidates and I've asked questions and they didn't really give me an answer. Or you could just say, please, I may not know that answer, or just elaborate, or you could just ask follow-up questions. Also, even though we look at skills in your resume and your past work experience, we also look at just you as a person, your personality, how you handle yourself, because we need to make sure you're also a great fit with the team. So maybe you're very quiet or very outgoing. So we look at those things and see how the other team will fit. And we also have panel interviews with the teams. So the team can weigh in, not just the person that you will be reporting to. I will say one thing, and this is on my mind because I had to do this yesterday. Our application process says to please submit a cover letter and a resume. And if you do not submit a cover letter, but I really, really like your resume, I will email you and go, your application's incomplete. We would really like a cover letter. But usually if we see that you not submit a cover letter, we'll just kind of bypass you because you're not, to us, in our mind, you're not paying attention and you lack detail. And also cover letters are important to us, not a lot of companies, but to us, because it's our first introduction to you. It also serves as a writing sample. It shows us, if you're detail oriented. So I do tell people, if you apply, please make sure you're applying correctly.
That is such solid advice, Rose. And that's a good plug for careers.umd.edu. Okay. There are a lot of great cover letter. There's a lot of great cover letter and resume preparation information on there, even some student samples that I've used with students in helping them prepare job applications and such. Excellent. You kind of sort of answered this one already, but I'm going to throw it out there. Somebody's asking again through our registration, the skills that they're asking about if they don't have any work experience in the field of psychology. So let's say they haven't done an internship, don't have any research experience in the field, and they're asking what skills might they need to possess or highlight if they don't have that experience.
Yes, well, we all have different experience. It could be internships or when you volunteer or classes that you've taken or hobbies on the side. You can incorporate all those into skills. There is a resume format. I can't remember the name of it, where it just really highlights your skills if you don't have a lot. So those are some ideas if you feel like you don't have enough work experience. And we understand that too. When you're right out of college, we get that. But if you can tie it into other things you've done besides work experience, that will be helpful.
Thank you. Can you talk a little bit about what it's like to work there? You touched on this, I think, briefly in your intro, but what are some of the rewards and what's kept you there so long and such? And what describing maybe the work culture there, the organizational culture?
Sure. Well, 10 years went by really, really quick. Usually I'm at a job a year or two and then I'm looking for something else, but yeah, it's just a great fit. If you're a psych major, well, undergrad psych major like I was, and like all of you guys are, it was like prestige to actually work at APA. I mean, there are times when I'm on the elevator and I'm meeting, Catherine Nordell, who put out Stress in America a couple of years ago, and just the people that you meet or the presentations that you get to be a part of. It's huge, and you're making a difference, with society and the issues and things like that are out there. Also, like I said, we have great benefits, and I have been able to move up the ladder. When I started, I was, of course, an undergrad in psychology, and I wanted to just do something else. And I was like, well, let me just see what HR is. I did a volunteer HR position with a friend's company, and I'm like, well, let me just see what it, and I just loved it. I started out as a receptionist and I just worked my way up. I did go back and get the master's, which did help, but I just worked my way up. They always have opportunities, which I loved, and they celebrate staff. I just cannot voice that enough. Of course, the benefits, the flex schedule, the 401k match, the free exercise classes. Pilates started and had 30 minutes ago. Of course, I never get those in, but you get gym memberships. It's just a lot. We do a lot of course, development and things like that. We're just, I'm a part of a committee at APA that help the homeless. So we do a lot of that. You get 3 hours a year that you can just use for volunteer time, and you don't have to take your own personal leave or your work time or anything like that. It's just so many great things about APA. Like I said, it was the first company that when I started, I was like, I can see myself retiring here.
Sign us all up.
It's a great company.
So Michelle, I understand we have some questions in the chat box that we can go to now.
We do. So the first question is, I'm a family science major interested in pursuing counseling. Are there opportunities at APA that would align with that degree and career path?
Now it could get you started with some internships, so you can just see maybe in the practice directorate and see how that goes. But we get a lot of applicants thinking that they're going to come to APA and practice psychology, and that's usually not the case. Our department heads and our chiefs, they're all PhD psychologists, but a lot of our job is just maintaining the organization, a lot of administrative, a lot of IT, a lot of publishing jobs. So if you're trying to pursue a counseling career, we won't be able to help you when it comes to that, because it's not like, people are coming into our building asking for assistance. We just help the community work as psychologists. But you can, of course, if you do an internship or do a part-time job or just work there a year, you can really meet some really good connections that will take you far.
Okay, great. So the next question is, what is the minimum college credits you would have to be considered for an internship at the APA?
There's no minimum. We also have high school students that do internships as well. So there's no minimum.
Okay. What specific type of work is available to BAs working as an entry-level researcher?
I'm sorry, can you repeat that?
What specific type of work is available to BAs working as an entry-level researcher?
Yeah. Right now we have, like I think I mentioned earlier, program assistants or program coordinators where you can learn under researchers. You can get a job as a researcher right out of college, but you'll have to have a lot of statistical type knowledge and background and, things like that. But we have some, but it's more working under researchers until you gain the skills needed to move up.
Great, thank you. So the next question is, are there still the same amount of opportunities now with the pandemic happening? And are all opportunities remote right now?
Yes, we are working from home until the end of this year. Actually, we have not received the email yet, but an email is set to go out to staff to let us know that we'll be working from home still in the spring. We started working from home in March of this year, so it's been a while. And even interns, we're still accepting interns, and they're just working remotely as well. It was really a great transition. We were already gonna go out as just like a test. Let's just see. Everybody, let's work home tomorrow and see how it happens. It just so happened we just never went back. But we were very prepared to work from home. The recruitment and all of that is still up. I think we only have 11 current opportunities right now. Usually we could have any 20 to 25 opportunities. So we have had some budget constraints because of that, but we've also saved a lot of money by going virtual. Our building, we have APA convention every year. I don't know if you guys are familiar with that or have had the opportunity to take advantage of that. We usually do it in different states. Last year, I think we did it in Hawaii. The year before that, it was in San Diego. Year before that, it was in DC. But this year, we decided to do it virtual. And we got twice as many registrations. it was just so well received. It was wonderful. It was wonderful. And I think, and that of course, in saving money, we're going to do it next year. Of course we are. But other than that, nothing has really changed too much. It's just that we're always in the camera, but nothing pretty much different.
Someone asked, are there any internships in the HR department specifically?
Oh, you're trying to take my job. No, they're not right now. We don't, it's the HR department is very, very small. It's like 8 or 9 of us. I think we had one opportunity maybe 6 years ago for someone that came in. But usually we don't get a lot of requests for HR internships. But if we did, maybe we'll look into it. We just never get requests. So.
Okay. The next question is, can we become a member of the APA? And do you have any student memberships?
Well, we have the college memberships, of course. That is a great question. I can send the information to Stephen after after this session, and he can send it out for you guys if you guys want to be members. It's a lot of great perks of being a member.
Okay, and the next question, what are key ideas to include in a resume? Similarly, is there an idea that a resume became too long or too short? In other words, is there an optimal resume size?
I think so. Unless you've been in your career for many years and you have lots of publications and research under your belt, then you'll have a CV. I get that. But if not, a cover letter should at least just be 1 page. And of course, another page for your, the resume and the cover letter. To me, I always tell people that once your resume crosses you literally have 30 seconds to draw our attention. And the way I see if you're a good fit is I'm just looking for keywords in the very beginning to grab my attention. If I know attention to detail, or I know this person needs research experience, I'm looking for those keywords. And once I find a few of those keywords, then I'll take my time and read the entire resume and cover letter. So yes, you don't want 3 and 4 pages, a lot of graphics. Sometimes people submit pictures on their resume. I mean, of course, I'm sure it depends on the job. Like if you're going for a graphic artist job, they may want to see your resume being creative and things like that. But for me, it just takes away from what I'm looking for. But it's just to each their own. But I know the set rule is about a page and a half, no more.
Okay, great. So the next question, what would be the daily tasks in an individual working in publishing?
I am not the HRBP for publishing. So I really can't, I knew I should have looked up publishing before I joined you guys. It just depends. Like I say, we have editor positions, they have books positions, quality insurance. It just kind of depends. I know it's just multiple different levels, but again, I can get more publishing information and send that to Stephen as well. I apologize for that. In my HRBP role, when you're HR business partner, you're assigned to different directorates or units, and you work only with those units. And unfortunately, I don't work with publishing as much, but I do work with education, practice, public interest, etc. But I'll get some information to Stephen for you.
Great. The next one is there any intern opportunities for aspiring psychiatrists who are psychology major undergrads?
Yes, again, all of our internships, the majority of them are psychology majors. So we are the Psychological Association. So of course, there's many of them.
Okay. Someone asked, what qualities and experience are you looking for in interns?
An intern, just happy to be there. Happy to learn. We do expect you to work like a regular employee. I know there's a learning curve, of course, but we expect you to be like regular staff. So there's things that, show up on work on time, meet your deadlines, let your supervisor know if you're not able to work that day, or if you have some priorities that you need assistance with, or if you feel overwhelmed. So we just treat you like a regular employee. That's the whole internship experience. It's just to get that under your belt.
Okay, so the next question is kind of two combined because they're both about cover letters. So how long should a cover letter be? And what are some things that applicants can put in the cover letter to catch the eyes of recruiters?
So a cover letter is good for 1 page or a half a page or 1 page. It just depends on the job that you're applying for. I know we all have resumes and we just kind of just shoot them out to everybody and don't really make it personable, and that's fine. But the cover letter should be personable. You can have a standard cover letter and you just switch out the titles and maybe switch out a couple of skills according to the job that you're applying for. But the one thing that should be in your cover letter is, your objective and what can you bring to the company. And especially if your resume may not have a lot of skills that's needed for the job, you can address that in the cover letter, saying, I may not have had the opportunity to do X, but I'm really willing to learn, things like that.
What qualities or traits would compel you to reject an applicant?
Well, the cover letter, like I said earlier. And it just depends. Also, a lot of companies ask for your salary. It's good to put negotiable or maybe a very, very wide range. Say if the job pays 40 and you put your salary expectation between 60 and 70, we won't look at you because we feel like we can't afford you. So a lot of people knock themselves out of the running by putting these salary requests there. I can understand if they're asking for a number. So just do your research and say, this job in today's market is worth this, and kind of go at least 5 below and a 5 over and see what happens. I'm trying to think what else would I. Yeah, it's just if you just, and also keep in mind that there's other candidates that are applying for the job too. And you may be great. Your resume and cover letter was great. You have great skills. It just so happens that another candidate had even more experience or even more skills. So, you're also competing with other people. So sometimes those other people could beat you out.
So we had two questions kind of related to your website. Is the career page there up to date with the internship and job openings?
That is correct. It is today.
Okay. And are there any positions in APA that could offer opportunities to travel domestically or internationally? And does the APA collaborate with other organizations?
Oh, yes. We collaborate all the time with organizations. Even we're on the Hill a lot for our advocacy efforts. We call it the Little APA, which is the American Psychiatric Association. So yeah, we collaborate with many organizations. What was the second part of your question?
It was just about the travel and then the collaborations.
Yeah, only our higher up executive level roles will travel. They have conferences, meetings, presentations, and things like that. Unless you're working for a convention, you may travel for a convention and things like that. As of right now, because of the pandemic, we have stopped all travel since March. I'm not sure when that'll, we'll start that again. It's up to the economy, the government.
And just to comment, a few people have asked for the career website page. We'll send that after this session.
Sure.
And that was the last question so far. Steve, do you have any more?
Yes, I do. So first off, you're in DC, right? The headquarters is right in DC. I don't think we mentioned that.
Yes. We're right outside of Union Station, right outside.
Oh, perfect. So if things return to some sense of normalcy and such, that's good to know and such. I'm curious though, with your psych background, I'm a little biased. We're a little biased here with the psych background because you did your undergraduate degree in psychology. How do you feel that psych background is helping you in your current position in human resources?
Well, because I work for HR at the American Psychological Association. So that psych background it works wonders because it's the nature of the organization. But if I wanted to tie the psych background into my career as an HR person, it would have to be the human side. Um, of course, we do employee life cycle. We hire, we do employee engagement. I work with compensation and things like, and all of those things. But it comes down to it is that your staff are human beings. So I have to treat them and be cordial, be understanding, uplift, develop, not just uh, on our policies and things or the company's goals, but I have to look out for them and what are their personal goals. I do a lot of, even though I'm not a counselor and I don't make it known that I have a psych degree, but I get a lot of staff in my office that just want to vent. I'm like, I'm not a counselor, right? but it does help because I have to talk to people and I have to develop them. And of course, you study different personality types, and that just helps you to communicate.
Thank you. That was wonderful. Kind of, if you had like 2 or 3 pieces of advice for psych majors seeking to work with the APA, what would those be?
Just apply, learn what you can about APA, our mission and our values and our goals, and make sure they align with what you think is important. You wouldn't want to work for a company that you feel like you just can't get behind, or you don't understand their causes, or they're not lined up with what you believed in. So as a person in psychology, that's what I would say. And that's just not just APA, that's what any organization that you work with.
And does the APA invite any opportunities for like informational interviews for students, or it's kind of more, I guess I'm looking at more like externship types of opportunities. So say a student maybe isn't quite ready to do a full internship, but they're curious to learn a little bit more about the APA, and if they didn't attend this session and don't listen to the recording, are there any opportunities that students could maybe do an informational interview?
Not at this time. Well, if someone wants to do it with me, you can, email me and I can make some time, but normally we do not offer that.
Okay, we're going to give you a break a second, Rose. If we have a couple questions, you can take a breather. So we had a couple questions that were submitted when folks registered for the event that are a little bit more general in nature, not so much specific to the APA, that we wanted to try to address. One of them is a psychology BS better than a BA? So really, when you're making that decision about which path you're going to pursue, it's more about fit and working towards your strengths. So the BS tends to be a better fit for students that are interested in research or research types of career paths, and also have a strong aptitude for science, of course, natural and physical sciences. And the BA tends to be for students that are more interested in theory and practicing psychology. So going more kind of in that service delivery role or practice-based role. And we had another question that was asked about the differences between a clinical and counseling psychologist. I really simplify this. I kind of dummy it down for myself. So basically, clinical psychology is following to a great deal the medical model. So it's assessing a client, it's diagnosing them, it's designing a treatment intervention and such. So it's working with individuals who have been clinically diagnosed with mental or emotional challenges or problems. The counseling psychologist is more person-centered. That's going to be somebody that's working, say they're working with me directly, they're asking me about my strengths, they're feeding into my strengths, and it's for everyday problems I might be experiencing. So relationship problems, stress, things like that. So those are kind of the two primary differences there. And somebody asked as well about career paths for psychology majors. I don't know if that was for the APA. You didn't mention the APA in that question. So We have a wealth of resources. The BSOS Career Center in particular has a wealth of resources online related to psychology career development. So if you go to bsos.umd.edu and I think you click on undergrads and then your career, and then you select psychology, you're going to get a really nice packet of information there. One thing I really like is they have listed all of the job titles for recent psychology graduates. So you can look at the different types of entry-level job titles, the bachelor's level job titles of Psych Terps who have graduated, say, within the last 5 or 6 years and such. And got a note. Okay, I'll read that then, Crystal. Another question that was asked was about gaining experience in a job market where everything requires experience and even internships. And this, Rose, you might be able to help with this one too. I say to that question is you have to make contacts, you have to network, you have to attend events like this, you have to engage in dialogue with professionals who are in a field of interest. If you're not sure of your exact field of interest, there are a lot of resources to help you with that, like Focus 2 or Focus 2 assessment. There's the Occupational Outlook Handbook. So it's almost like you can work backwards. And if you say to yourself, you know, I'm interested in becoming a clinical psychologist, well, you want to do some research on that first. You want to really thoroughly research it and learn a little bit, like Rose was saying, learn about what are the educational requirements, what is the job outlook like, what are the responsibilities that I'd be performing in that role, and so forth. So I think it really starts with every decision you make or every action that you take really should be working towards your future. And those can be small actions, and they can be things like taking the Psych 123 course. We have the Psychology of Getting Hired course that you can take. There's a career and professional development course for psych majors that some of you might be in right now, Psych 309. So there are even some things built right into the curriculum at Maryland that you can take advantage of related to that. Just see here.
So Steve, we did have 2 more questions submitted. So Rose, are there any positions in the industrial organizational field besides HR?
Oh, no, not at this time. I did hire an IL psychologist for our applied psychology directorate, but entry-level positions, we do not. Yeah.
Okay. And the next question, is there a possibility of a mentorship in the APA?
Oh, those are great. Not at the time right now. That is something that I'm a part of a work group right now for onboarding and recruitment. So we're trying to overhaul the entire thing. And one of the recommendations is to create some type of mentorship, but that's only for new hires when they come in.
Okay, well, I think we've exhausted all of our time for this afternoon. First off, let's give Rose a virtual thank you, applause for all of your time that you spent with us today, all of the wonderful information you provided to us. We know, even though you're probably even busier working virtually, I can suspect.
I am.
We really do appreciate you spending time with us today and sharing all of your information, knowledge, and expertise. It's been very helpful. We'll be following up. When I say we, I mean the Psych Department and BSOS Career Center. We'll follow up with a document that includes the recording to this session, as well as some of the resources that Rose will be providing us. Don't expect that like today. So we'll probably come to you maybe, within a week or so. We'll try to get that out, and we'll also maybe post it on the blog and post it on the BSOS career page as well. So we do want to put a plug in for an upcoming event that's happening. We have a Child Life Services panel that will be taking place next week on October 8th. The time is escaping me. So if Crystal, if you have that time, or Michelle, I think it's later in the afternoon, not like at 12 noon. I could be wrong on that. They'll put it in the chat box for everyone. And then we also have another another employer Zoom session like this for Shepherd Pratt that will be coming up in early November. And we have a health psychology panel that will also be coming up later this month. So keep your eye on the blog and any emails that you might get from me. And I'm hearing that it's at 4 o'clock, a child life services panel. So if you have an interest in working with children, kids, that would be a really great panel to attend. So I want to thank everyone for your time and attention today. We really appreciate it. We hope you have a wonderful rest of your day and an awesome weekend. And please stay healthy and safe.
Thank you. Good luck, everyone.